Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Byers, and I have a student that has some issues with their geometry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate this area to kind of get a better look at what's wrong with it. Okay, so I'm going to record this for everyone. If they do have issues and they need to replace polygons and fix geometry, I'll show you an easy way to do it. Okay, to isolate it, I'm going to hold the Control and the 1 key down. That isolates this object. Okay, and we've got several things here. Let's see if we can just fix it without deleting anything. Okay, so it looks like we've got a vertex that is all messed up here. Okay, so we need to fix that. So there's several ways I can go about doing this. I could destroy this entire polygon. Delete that, right? Destroy it by clicking on it and deleting it. And then destroying this piece here that's got the issue with it. Okay, so I can destroy that too as well. Okay, so that kind of gives us an idea of what's happening here with this object. Okay. All right, so several things are happening here. So I'm going to also destroy this polygon here. Okay, so that leaves this huge gap. Okay, so if this were to happen to you, or you've got some destroyed geometry, you don't need to freak out or worry about anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to fix it. So I'm going to go to vertex mode. I'm holding down the right mouse button. Okay, and when I do that, I get these. I can go to vertex mode. First thing I want to do is I want to select that vertex that's by itself. I'm going to go to the top view again. I need to isolate that because it's hard to see. Or I can just hit the 4 key. Kind of lets me see through everything. The 4 key. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this so it matches this vertex right here. So I'm going to move it. Okay, move it around and just match it up with this vertex right here. Okay. So that's going to kind of give us a starting point. So I'm going to hit the space bar again and get back into the perspective view so we can see what's going on. There we go. We can also see that that vertex is kind of lower than the rest of everything else. Okay, so I want to match that. So I'm going to go to the front view. Okay, I'm going to go to the front view here. I'm going to also hit the 4 key so I can see through. That's a wireframe, by the way. 4 key is wireframe. Move that back up again. So I'm just moving that vertex so it kind of follows everything. Okay, you guys can see I'm going to hit the space bar again, get back into perspective view. There we go. So now we've got everything lined up. Now the best thing we can do now is there's several things we can do. We can try to use the append to polygon tool, but the problem with that is it will work on this one, but it may not work on this one because there's a huge hole here. The fill hole tool won't work either because it's got multiple divisions. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do the old extrude tool. So I'm going to right click over, go to edge mode. I'm going to click on this edge. Okay, I'm going to hit the Q key. Okay, and I'm going to go Control E. What that'll do is that's going to extrude that edge over. Now I do not want to use the extrude manipulator for this instance, so I'm going to hit the W key for move. I'm just going to move that over. Now notice that I'm just going to move it over just a little bit. I'm also going to move it out a little bit. I'm going to show you a tool that's really fun to use, and it's called the weld tool. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to selection mode. I'm going to hold down the shift key. Okay, I'm going to right mouse button, hold down. I'm going to go click on target weld tool. Okay. What you want to do is you want to select anything on here. Okay. Okay, and we want to go ahead and select that vertex right here. Now we're not in vertex mode, so it's having a hard time. So I'm going to go to vertex mode. All right, now we're going to select the vertex, and then we're going to hold down the mouse. Hold down your left mouse button and snap it to that side. Okay, it's going to be hard to learn this, but zoom in a little bit. We're going to click on where we have the weld tool on. So I'm going to click on the one I want to move. And then I'm going to hold down the left mouse button. And while I'm holding it down, I'm going to move to the other side to where I want it to go. And then when you let go, it will weld it. So again, the tool works like this. Okay, I'm going to go back into my selection mode. So how it works is I'm going to hold the shift key down and my right mouse button, and I'm going to click on target weld tool. Okay, we need to select it, and if it doesn't show the vertex, you can right click over it again and go to vertex mode. Okay, now the weld tool is still on, so I'm going to click on what I want to weld and then move it, holding the right mouse or the left mouse button, move it over like that, and that welds it just nicely. Look at that. So we got it nicely welded. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we can try the append polygon tool now that we got that taken care of. Okay, if there's no geometry issues with the rest of the vertices, then I can go ahead and hit the Q key. So we're still in target weld tool. We don't want to do any more target welding, so I'm going to hit the Q key to get out of that tool. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try a new tool. I'm going to go to selection. Okay, I'm going to hold down the shift key, my right mouse button, go to append a polygon tool. Okay, I'm going to go into the option box this time. Okay, I'm going to reset the tool. Now notice that we have this keep new faces planar. Okay, if you have that on and you can't get it to work, then we need to turn that off. Okay, so I'm going to give it a try and see how it works. So I'm going to click on this edge up here. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the edge at the bottom. Okay, it's not letting me do it, so I'm going to click on this edge here. Okay, rotate around and click on this edge on the bottom. Now it's not letting me do that. Okay, and there's a reason for that. It might be because of the keep faces planar is on. Okay, let's try it without it. So I'm going to go back, get the backspace key. Now I'm going to click on keep new faces planar off. Okay, I'm going to try this side now instead of the other side. So I'm going to click on this side. Okay, and then on this side. Now let's go ahead and reset the tool. It doesn't like that either, so I'm going to hit the backspace key. Okay, whoops, too far. Control Z back. I'm going to hit the Q key and we're going to try this again. Okay, now sometimes that happens where it just does not understand what's going on here. Okay, so I might want to extrude the face over if I can't do it again. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time. Append a polygon tool. Okay, we're going to keep faces together off, keep faces planar. So I'm going to click on this side. Okay, I'm going to click on this side. I'm going to follow and click on this one. Oh, and this time it lets me do it. Look at that. So I'm going to hit the enter key. Okay, great, perfect. So we're going to try it again on this side. So I'm going to hold the shift key and right mouse button, go to append polygon tool. And when this one should be easy to do, I'll go to from the top to the side, click on the side, and then click on the bottom. There we go. And hit enter. And it should be all fixed. Okay. All right, so another thing that I'm going to do with this object is to make sure there are not any floating vertices. So I'm going to right click over this and look for any vertices that might be floating around that do not have an edge or anything, that are just kind of floating around. And I don't see anything. Doesn't mean that there are not any vertices on top of each other. So there might be double vertices on top of each other that will keep me from doing the insert edge loop tool. Okay, so if everything is, the topology is all good, then we need to check for double vertices. Now I'm not going to go in here and select each one of them and try to figure it out. So basically, to find out if there's a double vertices, you are going to want to go to display, go to heads up display, and go to poly count. Okay, that's display, heads up display, poly count. Click on that. Okay, and that'll give you a polygon count here. Now, if I just marquee select over an object, now if I click on a vertex, it's just going to say there's one vertex there. If I marquee select over it, you might see if it says 2, then you've got 2 vertices over each other. Now, I'm not going to do this for every single one of these. That would be a waste of my time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the vertices, okay, and try to fix them all at once. Okay. So I'm going to hold down the space bar. I'm going to go to Edit Mesh. I'm going to go to Merge. I'm holding down the space bar, Edit Mesh, and then Merge. I'm going to go into the option box. And in here, if I reset the settings, it will go 0.01. And if we have a small object or these vertices are real close together, what's going to happen is it's going to, if this number is too high, it'll merge all these vertices that are close together. We don't want to do that. So in fact, I want to just add another 0 to make it so it won't do that. Okay, so 0.001 and click merge. Okay, at this point now, everything should be clean. Okay, another thing you can do to make sure that your object is clean is to use the cleanup tool. Okay, all right, and I'll show you how to use that. Okay, so I'm going to go to a mesh, and to clean up now, I'm holding down the space bar. You hold down the space bar, you get this menu. This is called the marking menu, and I'm going to click on mesh and go down to cleanup. Next to cleanup, I'm going to click on the option tool. Okay, so with cleanup, if I want to find out if I have n-gons, then I'm going to have to click on faces with more than 4 sides. Okay, so if I go to edit and reset, you can see that's nothing selected here. So I want to clean up matching polygons? No, I just want to see where those n-gons are. Okay, and apply to selected objects? Yes. So I'm going to turn selected matching polygons on and apply to selected polygon objects is on. Keep construction history? Yes. And then click on faces with more than 4 sides. Okay, and then I'm going to clean up. What's going to happen is it's going to look and highlight anything that would have more than 4 sides. That would be an n-gon. That's not good to have. Okay, all right, so we don't see anything. All right, that's good. Okay, what does it look like? You're probably asking yourself, what does it look like if I do have an n-gon? Okay, let me give you an idea. So I'm going to multi-cut, I'm going to add an n-gon here. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to hit the Q key because I still have the multi-cut tool. Turn that off. Go to object mode again, and let's go ahead and see what happens. So I'm going to go to mesh, and I'm going to go to cleanup into the option box, and I'm going to click cleanup. And look what happens. It tells me how many, what polygons has an object that's, or a face that's more than 4 sides. So let's select it. So go to edge mode. So go click on 1. Hold down the shift key, 2, 3, 4, 5. So obviously we have a polygon that's more than 5 sides. Okay, that's an easy fix for this one because I know how I created it, so I can easily delete it. So I'm going to go to edge mode. I'm going to click on the edge. Okay, and I'm going to hold Control and then delete. What that does is it not only deletes the edge, but it deletes that vertex. Okay, if I don't do that, okay, let's just say I go in here, go into edge mode, and I click on the edge and I delete it. What happens is leaving a floating vertex. If I click on vertices, you can see I have a floating vertex. That's what a floating vertex looks like. Okay, so I can marquee select it, make sure I don't have anything else selected. A lot of times if you marquee select, you may select another vertex on the back. So I'm going to hit the 4 key to make sure I didn't select any vertex. So if I'm doing like a marquee select on something like that, you could select something behind there, and when you delete, you're deleting something and you're going to destroy your whole entire object. So be careful with marquee selecting in this respect. Okay, so I'm going to hit the 5 key again. I'm just going to click on that. And a lot of times I'll hit the 4 key just to see if I selected something behind it by accident. The 4 key is wireframe. That lets you see through your object. And then 5 is smooth shade. That lets you see kind of what your object looks like. I'm going to hit the delete key. Right? Now, doing the control delete will keep you from having to do all this other extra work. Okay? Okay. All right. So now you know why I do control delete when I click on an edge like that. Okay? It deletes the vertices and the edge. Okay. With that said, we should have a clean object now. Now, if I click off, if you see any hard edges, okay, so it's like, let's say I have these edges are hard. What does that look like? Okay, so I'm going to go into, hold down my spacebar and go to Mesh Display and Harden Edge. What happens that's what it looks like. You can see in the smooth shade that it's like hard edges, right? We want hard edges along here, along the edges that should be hard, but soft, these edges should be soft, right? So I'm going to select those edges, okay? Just marquee select them like that. Make sure I don't have any of these edges that should be hard, right? And smooth those. So I'm going to go to Mesh Display and Smooth. Or Soften, excuse me. So we soften those edges. So now when I look at it, we've got nice smooth edges. Now if I smooth everything, that's not a good thing. We don't want to smooth everything, okay? Or harden everything. Well, let's say if we have smooth everything, what does that look like? So let's soften the edge. Okay, we get these kind of weird black areas, right? We don't want that, okay? If I click on this, it looks like it's trying to soften edges. It just cannot soften. The problem is it can't soften 90-degree angles, okay? So if I click on this edge and click on this edge and just go around and fix it, okay? And then I just have to harden those edges now, okay? Which is kind of a pain in the butt, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to get this weird shading issue, okay? So that's basically what you need to do. Those areas need to be hard, as you can see, like the outside areas. They're sharp. They need to be sharp. So I'm going to hold down spacebar, go to Mesh Display, and Harden Edge. And then all of a sudden, all those artifacts and shading errors go away. I'm going to go back to selection mode. And if you do all this work, okay, everything is starting to look good, then you're going to want to delete by type history and freeze transformations. Okay, so I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go to my poly modeling, okay, and we have these tools here. This is center pivot, so that centers the pivot. This one is delete by type history. Okay, you can find it here, or you can find it to go to edit, delete by type history this way, or Alt-Shift-D. Okay, that's the hotkey for delete by type history, or Alt-Shift-D. So we want to do that. We want to go to selection mode, and we want to delete the history. Okay, what that does, if I can Control A, you can see that any of the history is gone. Let me go back, Control Z. You can see all that history that I have here. That's not good for an object. Plus, if you save it like that, you might have issues later, okay, like with UV mapping. This is the history of the object that I just went through, okay? This is all the history, the tweaking and the merging and all that stuff. So that's all here, okay? We don't want that in there, okay? We don't want all that history in there, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to delete that history by clicking on this icon here, or going to edit, delete by type history, okay? The next thing I like to do for all my objects is to center pivot. So that's this guy right here. You can also go to modify center pivot here, okay? And the next thing I want to do is if I've moved this object or rotated this object, I want to go into freeze transformations. That's what this is. What that does, let's say I rotate this, okay, and I want to delete the transforms for that, but you don't want to usually rotate. You want to keep things kind of XYZ, facing XYZ. Don't rotate objects in a weird angle. You're going to have a hard time UV mapping them, okay? A lot of you guys will build something and then you want to pose the object or rotate it and put it in a different rotation. Do not do that until you UV map it and texture it. Okay, that's a good tip for you. But anyway, I like to delete the transforms, all the transforms. Okay, that kind of clears everything up for you. Okay, I'm going to hit the Q key. Okay, that just kind of goes into selection mode. Q key also gets you out of, now you can see how that goes right directly back into component mode. Well, you're going to need to change that up here. Okay, this is in component mode. It wants to go into that all the time. We can do that here. Okay, all right. Also, I want to take you through the modeling toolkit. Okay, real quick. So here's the modeling toolkit. This also lets you go into multi-component mode. Okay, that means you can select an edge or a face or vertex anytime you want and move it. Okay, now be careful with the multi-component mode. Okay, because sometimes it gets mixed up. Okay, if you want to do just single, like this is face selection, this is edge selection, and this is vertex selection. Okay, and this gets you back to your object selection. So you can use your model toolkit to do this as well. You can also do symmetry. You can have symmetry on or off if you want to. Okay. Okay, I'm going to keep this off. Camera-based selection sometimes comes in handy when you're moving objects, but keep it off for now. Okay. Slash selection tool. We haven't really gone over that yet. We have the combine tool, the separate tool, the Boolean tool, the smooth tool, all here. We have components. We have the extrude tool here. So if you select on an object, a face, and you can hit the extrude tool and it will extrude it for you if you want to do that instead of Control E. I find Control E faster. Okay. I'm going to go Control Z back. Okay. And so I'm going to go in selection mode and delete the history here. Okay. Now notice that I think it caused that edge to be hard. Okay. When I did that extrude. So I'm going to click on that. If you do an extrude and you don't move your face out, you're going to have lots of problems later. Okay. Because what it does is it causes issues. So if I Control Z back, I have to go back a long ways, okay, to make sure that extrude is not still on. Okay? All right. A lot of times people, that's why I don't like using this extrude here, because you may think you went back and you didn't, and what happens is you put a face on top of a face, and you're going to have all kinds of problems. Okay? All right. All right, so we also have multi-cut tool, the target weld tool, the connection tool, and the quad draw tool. These are all great tools to have and to learn. Okay. Right, but I just wanted to show that this is here. Some of you like to work this way. I don't work this way, but some of you like to. You can turn that off and on if you want to. Okay. All right. I've had less trouble with the extrude selecting an object and doing the Control E that I have with the tool. That you may disagree. That's up to you how you want to use it. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you. Okay. Just want to make sure I don't have that on anymore. There we go. Okay, so I've got a pretty solid object now. One other thing we can test, test, is let's click on here, and we have a smooth edge in here. So let me double click on that, and we'll click on that one, and we got some edges inside here that we need to follow up on because they're soft and they shouldn't be. They do this too. So you get to see me working and fixing things. I'm holding down the space bar, and then go to Mesh Display and Harden. Okay, so that should clean that all up. Other things that we need to clean that you cannot see, that can be an issue, we'll talk about. We'll get that cleaned up right now. Okay. And what I'm going to do is hit the Q key. I'm going to delete the history again. Just this icon right here. Okay. That's under Poly Modeling, the shelf tab. Okay. And I'm going to hold down the space bar, go to Mesh, and I'm going to go to Clean Up. And this time I'm going to clean up lamina faces and non-manifold geometry. Okay, and we're gonna have Maya fix this for us. So I'm gonna clean up matching polygons, apply to selected objects, and we're gonna turn that off. We don't need that on now. So lamina faces sharing all edges. That means double faces. That's faces that I was talking about when I extrude and I didn't move it. Okay, that's called the lamina faces. Non-manifold geometry is something very difficult to control, and it happens when you extrude. It happens when you're moving vertices around. It happens when you extrude faces and edges. Sometimes this just happens. So I turn this on and to clean everything up. Okay. All right. So those two things should clean everything. Clean it up, and there we go. And so now you should have no issues with adding edge loops. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm holding down my shift key and my right mouse button, and I'm going to go into insert edge loop tool. And now I should be able to insert edge loops where I need them. Okay, anywhere I want to solidify and keep those edges from smoothing out too much. Okay, and then I can do these as well. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. Okay, go to the other edge, this one. Okay, and I'm going to go click on this guy right here, and that puts an edge all the way along that and all the way along here. And we also have the inside edges we have to select like that. And we've got an inside edge here that I noticed that we need to select here on the inside and at the bottom like that. Okay. When you do hard surface modeling, there's a lot of things you got to think about. Got those inside edges. We need this outside edge here like that. Okay, so that should take care of that, and the way to check it is hit the 3 key. So now I've got all those edge loops in there. So it's nice and completed. So I'm going to go in here, select the object. I'm going to hit the 3 key, deselect. You can see we got a nice edge here. Now you can see that we have what's called a pinching. It's not really pinching yet, but you can see a little pinching right here. Okay. Right, that pinching comes from edges that are too close to each other. Okay, there might be some other issues too. So let me hit the 1 key. And I noticed that I didn't get an edge loop over here. And I did over here. I did the right thing over here, but I forgot the edge loop over here. So it's causing some pinching right in through here. Okay, so I'm going to go to selection mode, and I'm going to hit the shift key and right mouse button and go to insert edge loop, and I'm going to insert an edge loop right through here. Okay, and that should fix that. So I'm going to hit the 3 key again. All right, hit the 1 key again, go back into object mode, and now we can go into selection, and you can see that we've got some hard edges here. Okay, all right, so some of the issues that you run into is that no matter how hard you try to keep from these edges getting hard, sometimes there's no way of getting around it. So I'm going to go to edge mode like this. Whoops. I need to hit the Q key. That will get me out. Okay, click off anywhere. Hit the Q key to get out of that tool. Otherwise, you're going to be inserting edge loops you don't want to. And I'm going to select this edge right here. Okay, that edge on top, and I'm going to try to move that so they're more separated. I'm going to try to move that along that edge. So I'm going to need to go to the slide edge tool. So here's my slide edge tool. Okay, I'm holding down the shift key and my right mouse button in component mode after I got my edge selected and go to, and I can slide. It says right here, drag with middle mouse to slide. So I'm going to slide that over. Isn't that wonderful? Look at it. Slide that over like that. Okay, that's going to separate that a little bit. Okay, slide it over a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to slide this guy over a little bit too. So I'm going to click on this edge like this, middle mouse button, and slide that over a little bit like that. So I'm just kind of sliding those edges over so that doesn't create a crease. I'm going to do that on this side as well. Middle mouse button, slide that edge over, and slide this edge over like that. There we go. And you want to do the same thing to the side over here. I'm just holding this shift key. You can click off and hold the shift key again, and I'm not sure if it'll slide it over. Yeah, it slides it over nice and neatly. Okay, I'm holding the shift key as I'm selecting these edges. Make sure you don't select any other edges, otherwise you're going to have some issues, or might have some issues. There we go. All right, do this side over here. Okay. You notice I don't have any of those, anything else selected. And to make sure that you don't mess things up, you just can click off anywhere and just kind of start over again. I'm going to click on the first edge and then hold the shift key down to click on other edges. Whoops. If I click on an edge accidentally, you can click it again, it'll deselect it. Here we go. I don't have anything else selected, so I'm going to hold down the middle mouse button and move that edge over. Okay, so that's a way to get those edges, to slide those edges apart. You might have issues with this as well, where you have edges that are too close together, so you might have to slide them over. I think the rest of it looks okay. Let's take a look at it. We may have some pinching here, but it's underneath, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay. All right, so hit the 3 key and see how that looks. That looks much, much better. There's no noticeable pinching now at this point, and we have a nice solid looking object. Okay, looks good. Okay, so that's about it. I fixed the polygon and I showed you how to smooth edges and how to, this is basically hard surface modeling. And we do have little pieces, right? You can see like little shadows right there. To fix that, if you really want to fix something, fix that kind of thing, it's going to be a little harder because you're going to have pinching right here, and there's not a whole lot you can do. You might have to move some of these vertices out a little bit away from this, right? Okay, so you can do that by just moving that vertex over a little bit like that. But again, you have to be careful. See which way you do that, so you know you're not moving it up and down. You're just moving it along the surface here like that, and that might help with that pinching. You just have to kind of mess around. That might help with some of that pinching. Okay, right? You're just taking it. You're taking a chance though. Okay, when you start moving vertices around. Okay, you have to be super, super careful. Okay. Okay, so when I select that, I'm just going to move that around like that. I'm just doing it from the very bottom, so I'm not accidentally selecting any other pieces. And I'm going to see if that does help a little bit right there. Just moving that away. I'm going to move this one away a little bit more, like that. And just see if that helps. Okay. Just moving those just a little bit might help a little bit. Hit the 3 key. And it did. It helped a little bit. It's not perfect, but it did help. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's how you fix little things like that. I'm going to hit the 1 key and go back into my object mode, like that. Okay, save often. Okay. So you learned some new tools while watching me fix how to fix something, and you can always come back to this video if you do have any issues with polygons and you need to know how to use the weld tool, how to use the append to polygon tool, and how to extrude an edge and weld it. Okay, so I showed you quite a few things to do to fix an object. Hopefully this helps. I like to do this when students send me stuff. I'll just try to fix their mesh, and you watching me fix their mesh can help you with some of the issues that you may have with your object. Okay, awesome. Happy modeling.